this project really must be evaluated under CEQA as a unified development of the 6 consecutive parcels. The demolition and construction must be evaluated under CEQA together as one project. I have looked at the City of LA's own CEQA threshold guides, and they state that the quantity and distribution of population and households in the city affects the environment, the use of infrastructure, and the demand for public services. Economic or social changes may be used, however, to determine that a physical change shall be regarded as a significant effect on the environment. And then it goes on to discuss, the screening criteria, and it asks this question: would the project result in the net loss of any existing housing units affordable to very low or low income households as defined by the city standards through demolition, conversion, or other means? A yes response to any of the preceding questions indicates further study in an expanded initial study, neg deck, mitigated neg deck, or EIR may be required. Significance threshold. It talks about looking at the total number of units, the housing supply and demand, 10-year housing supply, population trends, and I think we can safely say the population is growing and demand for housing, including and especially affordable housing, is increasing. And I have proof here today, right now, that at least one of the prior tenants meets that screening criteria, resulting in a requirement for further study, possibly even an EIR, to determine the character. And any other appropriate housing being proposed for that location should be analyzed. For a state CDP, a permit in the coastal zone with some of the highest standards in the land, to rely on the city's CEQA work and say that the city is the lead agency on this permit is not acceptable under these circumstances. According to CEQA, the lead agency is the one who has the final approval of the project, and it seems to me that you are now that agency with the final approval, and that you also have primary responsibility for approving the projects. But even if you disagree with me on that, I think the point is that it feels very wrong and unacceptable to rely on something that we know is so erroneous. I'm going to hand over a package of materials here to Chris, but I found that in the M&D, there are many errors, but one of the most egregious is that they did not even look at the population and housing environmental factor under which this low-income housing criteria would have been analyzed and highlighted. Many of us have talked through how these 6 affordable units could easily be replaced by constructing a 2- or 3-story building on the lot. And yes, attorneys and others say that the city is responsible for carrying out the Mello Act, but we know about these problems, the biggest one of which is the linchpin for that decision, and that is using the wrong definition for feasible. In excluding social, environmental, and technical, I think you completely changed that decision. So here's what I think we need to do. I think we need to deny the project on the basis of the project not complying with the CEQA requirements, including looking at the 6 lots together and constructing replacement affordable units on the project area.
Thank you.
And I've made a proposal, which I just handed over to Chris, for a revised motion and findings. I also provided the findings, including a declaration regarding that affordable CEQA requirement that we meet.
Thank you. Okay, we'll bring it back to the staff.